Hi everyone, it's Knitting in Our Jeans and it's Carolyn and I'm flying solo this week. We have had a few upsets with the car, so a while, and a cat. So Rich is very allergic to cats, so let's set that out. And Elizabeth and her partner are babysitting a cat, so they didn't want to leave the cat alone in their apartment, and we were a little bit loath to bring Richard to where there's a cat because he really does have a reaction. So I said, thank you very much for inviting us for dinner. I really appreciate that, but we'll take a rain check on that. So I'm flying solo this week. Otherwise, we would have been recording in Elizabeth's apartment. Anyway, I have been working on a few things, a few updates, and I've actually worked a little bit on my For Sara. So we'll get to that. I worked on my half pie shawl, and I have used up all of my red Hanes, A.T. Hanes, and you can see that my red sections are not symmetrical, so I'm going to have to do some math. The top sections are 326 stitches, and I have to go back and look at my notes and or count to see what the bottom rows are, and I'm going to frog back to the bottom to down here and take out enough stitches so that I can make them symmetrical. And then we will go back and do the middle section and then do the fifth section, and then the last section is going to be a multicolor. So that's where I am on the half pie shawl. If I were making it for myself, I might leave it this way, but if I'm going to write up the pattern, I want to make it symmetrical. So it's using lace from my Nevertheless collection, only I have changed it to make it a little bit easier. I really like it. Let's see if I have the multicolor in here. Yes. So here's the multicolor. So this is the color that will go on the outside. And I think it's going to be really nice. My plan is to do a feather and fan vinyl section. So I'm looking forward to that. I really am. Let's see. I've lost the needle. Needles are falling out all over the place. Anyway, back to my For Sara. If you remember what For Sara looked like in the prototype, it looks like this. I asked you all to do a gauge swatch. And let's pull this out. So I did my gauge swatch, and I came up that I liked the fabric that was done on a size 5 needle, and with a size 5 needle I get 11.5 stitches to 4 inches. Or no, I got 5.5 stitches to the inch. 5.5 stitches to the inch. This is where you need to make your own gauge swatch, because the pattern or what you're knitting will be dependent on what you knit, not what I knit. And you can see that with the ribbing, and this is a gauge swatch in ribbing, the ribbing stretches so that by casting on for your upper bust and then making it an even number, you should be able to get it either over your head or up over your hips. I had said that my upper bust, let me pull this up on my iPad. Hello, iPad. Here we are. Thank you. That was really helpful. My upper bust is 39.5. I brought it down 1.5 inches. So any of those fractions, I wanted to bring it down to an even number. So I brought mine down to 38 inches times 5.5 gave me 209 stitches. That's an odd number, and I wanted an even number for the ribbing. So I am casting on 210 stitches, but I want to do a provisional cast on. So I stopped. Did I do the whole thing? I think I stopped. So what I did, one way to do a provisional cast on is to crochet a chain. And this is how the chain looks in the front, right? In the back, there are these bumps. And so what you can do is then you can go through and knit through the bumps. So you can see that I have, and I always chain more stitches or longer chain than I need for stitches. This gives me a little bit extra at one end and a little bit extra at the other. But I have put, so I put markers on my chain to denote how many chains I did. I did 220, so I have 5 extras. And now I have 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 200, 206, and then what I do is I will, let's see if I can get this away. You see I'm picking up the bump and I'm pulling that through. That's 207, 208, 209, 210. Okay, and then I put a knot at the beginning of my chain, so I know that that's the end that I started from. This is the end that I pulled through just to end off the chain. Now what should happen, and I say should because it doesn't always happen with me, it really depends on how good you are at picking up those bumps on the end without picking up anything else, is you should be able to unknot this end, like pull this through, and it should unzip. It may or may not. But what I wanted to do with the For Sara is I wanted to work up in the round, knit 1, purl 1, 3.5 inches. So if you all are working on your For Saras, what you want to do is you want to, do I have a mess? Yes, I have a mess. What's nice about the Provisional cast on is that it gives you a little bit more body, so you can make sure that you're not twisting your knitting when you want to join it in the round. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 211, because one of the things I do like to do when joining in the round is to knit 2 together at the beginning. So you can see, hopefully you can see that the pink is all on the inside. It is not twisted. And so what I will do is I will slip that 211th stitch to the left needle, knit 2 together, and then it's purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. And I'm going to just keep going until I get 3.5 inches going on that. So that's what I'd like for you all to do for the next podcast, is to get your For Sara started. I'm going to get my 3.5 inches done so that we can continue on from there. From 3.5 inches, then we do the top of the bust cups. Some of you may think that, and depending on the size you are, may think that these bust cups from here up are sufficient. That's up to you. They're at my age and my size, I don't feel good about that. And we're doing a provisional cast on because if you're doing this with 1 skein of knitting, my feeling was I wanted to have my chest covered, and then I would pick up the provisional cast on, I would unzip it, pick up those stitches, and knit down from there in order to get length on the top. Because once I have, my feeling is once I have my bust covered, or once I have the girls covered, then the more length I get in the body it's great. So that's what I did with that. I have to figure out what this needle is from, because obviously it came from somewhere. I know where it came from. I started my Grace, and apparently it fell out of the bag downstairs, and here it is. Found the Grace. Okay, so, and it fell out of this. Luckily, knit stitches are not that, they don't run that much. So I can pick this up. I was picking up the provisional stitches from my For Grace, and of course the needle came out. If there's a way to have a needle come out, I can do it. Now this is a provisional cast on in another manner. What I did here was I used a crochet hook, and with the crochet hook I crocheted stitches onto the needle. Let's get this going in the right direction. And then I started knitting from there. So that's another way to do it. So you make a slip, and then you bring it around. I'm going to pretend this is a crochet hook. All right, you'd have your crochet hook here, and you would then bring it through and over. And if you use a crochet hook, it will make that zipper line. It's not going to do it with a needle. Anyway, I did that other way of casting a provisional cast on, and what you means is that you can follow the pink. My pink is crossed over here. And it does unzip. I have to say that crocheting over your needle does give you a perfect unzippable start. I just find it a little fiddly to do it, especially if I'm doing 210 stitches, which is why I do the crochet and pick up the bumps. But there's certainly multiple different ways to do a provisional cast on. This is a neck edge that I'm doing for Grace. And so they wanted you to do the right hand, and then I'll do the left hand, which will be a mirror image. And so I'm picking it up from the back or from where I started, and it really is unzipping. And I'm just sticking my needle in and unzipping. The problem comes when you put it down in your knitting bag and then it falls out. So I had a feeling it would be a problem, and it was. Because I'm just not that good at transporting things that are partially on the needle and partially not. Anyway, anything else that I worked on? I've done the For Sara. I've worked on my shawl. I started the Grace. That's it. I did not work on my aqua jacket. I wanted to get somewhere. I wanted to see how I was hoping that I could get symmetry on the half pie shawl just by the way I was doing it, just by the luck of the draw. Well, that didn't happen. So I didn't work on my aqua sweater. I will probably finish working, or I'll frog a half pie shawl, do the math to figure out how many rows I can get from frogging, how many rows I can get on 326 stitches from frogging the smaller stitches, and make them symmetrical. And I will probably go from there and work on that, and then go back to my teal jacket, just because it hurts my hand a little because it's so grippy. Let's see what else is new and exciting. Can't think of anything. I proposed a road trip with my husband down to South Carolina and then to Asheville, North Carolina, to see the Biltmore. He's thinking it over. And whether we see Biltmore before we get to South Carolina or after we get to South Carolina, I don't know. I want to see how he does in the car. I had proposed it with Liz, and we were going to do it in 2 days, and he didn't like that idea. One, he didn't want to be left out, and two, he didn't want me driving that far. Meanwhile, I have to tell you, I love driving. Driving is just my thing, or one of my things, but he didn't want to be left out. So looks like he and I will be driving down to South Carolina and Asheville, North Carolina, as soon, when the trip gets proposed in May. So we'll see. We'll keep you posted on that. Should be a fun road trip. I want to see how he does because honestly, I'd like to drive across the United States. I don't know how well he'll take that. He's a big flying proponent because he can get up and walk around. Of course, we can park and we can get out and walk around the car. So I'll keep you posted on all of that. Oh, I forgot. I didn't introduce myself really at the beginning. I'm CPREDMOR on Ravelry and posting as Knitting in Our Jeans on Instagram. And yes, I did hurt my foot earlier this week doing mall walking. I had gone mall walking without putting my ankle brace on, and the ligament got sprained or got angry. It's doing fine now, and as long as I put my ankle brace on, I'll be fine too. So we'll probably go out walking a little bit later today. It's a beautiful Sunday. It's Girl Scout Sunday, I believe, and I think that's about all the news that's fit to print. It felt like 50 degrees outside when I got the newspaper, but my watch says it's only 43, so who knows? Anyway, we will probably figure out some place to walk today. And with that, weave in those ends, work on your For Sara, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.